This is episode 74 of the Fire Protection Podcast, powered by Inspect Point. Today, my guests are Ben Pitts and Jamie Knowles of Amerex. Amerex is the number one fire extinguisher globally across the world. And we're kicking off 2025 with this episode. Recorded last quarter, and it's kind of topical with some of the topics that we discussed regarding, extinguishers and lithium-ion battery protection. Are there extinguishers out there to handle lithium-ion battery fires? And Ben actually produced this really great letter to the industry about it, and a nice statement. And then obviously Amerex has other technology with lithium-ion battery fire detection. And just catching up with those guys. They're great. I've known them for a lot of years. I worked back in the Tyco Ansel days with Jamie and had him on the podcast a few times. So it was great to chat with them, and we have a little fun at the end. So before we get onto the podcast, I do want to mention kicking off 2025 with this episode. Please feel free to comment, message me on LinkedIn, on YouTube, or wherever on what topics you want to see in 2025. We've got a bunch set, ready to go, but what do we want to hear about? Who do we want to have on? And what trends are hitting our fire protection industry here this year? So I'm excited to get us kicked off and onto the podcast. Thanks again for listening. Hey, Ben. Hey, Jamie. How you doing?
Good, Drew. How are you?
Good, Drew. Good to see you.
Yeah. A little difference in the last time. I think last time I saw you guys was in New Orleans, maybe, or down at NFPA. I forgot.
NFPA or NFPA, one or the other.
Yeah.
You sure it wasn't on Bourbon Street?
I don't know if I'm going to New Orleans anytime soon after some of those incidents that had happened. That was rough. That was a rough guy. It's just like, you had some violence on the streets in the middle of our conference. It was like, well, this is kind of why it's sad too, but
Yeah, it's it can be dicey, but can also be a lot of fun.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Great town, great food, great culture,
Yeah.
great music.
Yeah, great music. Yep. One of these days I'll get back down there. But what do you guys been up to lately? Anything? Any big conferences this fall? Or I know you're involved in the FEMA side with the equipment manufacturer side.
Yeah, we had a quarterly meeting, unfortunately, that got canceled. It was going to be on the west coast of Florida. That's been rescheduled for early December in Nashville. So we're excited to go up there. Obviously, sorry for all the hurricane damage and chaos that that caused, and up through my home state of South Carolina and western North Carolina, just about an hour or so from where I grew up. Just devastation. But FEMA, that would have been the biggest conference that we've been to. We had an internal meeting out in Scottsdale last week, or I guess the week before last now. So that was a productive meeting, a lot of fun, got everybody together.
Yeah,
that's great.
Then we were at CalSafe the weekend before that in California. I did an hour on lithium batteries that day and supported their conference Thursday and Friday. And then, we've been to all the others. We've been to NFPA and all three NAFEDs, and went to Waste Expo and Mine Expo in the last 6 months.
That's cool.
We've been all over that trade show circuit for sure in many different industries. So Ben went to AUSA for our government division just a couple weekends ago. So we're involved all over the place.
That's great. So you spoke at CalSafe about lithium-ion. What was that presentation on lithium-ion battery?
So we've taken a leadership position in the industry with that topic, and the important thing to understand is that We're not selling anything to anybody in this topic. We are simply preaching safety and awareness and education around lithium batteries and the fire extinguishers that are around them. Right? And there's products out on the market that tout different suitability for that fire, and frankly, they're not listed for it. And in this country, if you want to present a fire extinguisher to the public and sell it, it has to be listed by Underwriters Laboratories, and it has to be rated for the types of fires that it'll put out. And lithium batteries present all four classes of fire, right? A, B, C, and D. The four major ones anyway. And because of that, they're a self-propagating fire, and they're very dangerous to deal with. A real message to the market is that any portable fire extinguisher that you would use on lithium batteries must have a Class C rating. It's critical that it has a Class C rating. That's Class C testing by Underwriters Laboratories goes clear up to 100,000 volts. And it really ensures that the person that has the fire extinguisher in their hands won't get shocked when they spray it onto whatever hazard they're spraying it onto. And with lithium batteries, we don't know when that charge is going to discharge from the battery, when it's going to be released. We got to keep people safe. We don't want them tackling fires with equipment where they'll get shocked. So we're on a little bit of a campaign. Ben issued a letter to all of our distributors. And then we also have a technical bulletin that we've sent out. And then I'm going around and speaking at the different conferences about the subject, talking to the different industry leaders in each of those segments, in each of those shows, about strategies moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just at a conference over the summer in New York, and FDNY has been doing a pretty good job with it. And they have, it's tremendous how many fires they have with lithium-ion battery. And it's not mainly the cars, it's the e-bikes and people charging them illegally and all this other stuff. But there's not a great way to put out these fires now. So I saw that letter, Ben, and I was super impressed that you guys are kind of coming forward and kind of getting that, trying to make, right with the industry and just the public, right? That we can't be using extinguishers for e-batteries,
Yeah, we're not there yet. We've gotten quite a bit of feedback about the letter. Most of it positive. Most everyone was glad to see it. Before I comment on that, though, I just want to say thank you for having us on. You guys have a great business. Really appreciate everything that you do for the industry. You really have a way of pulling everybody together. At CalSafe, really enjoyed meeting your, I think, relatively new managing director, Kim Glaze.
Yeah, Kim was there.
Yeah, we were right next to her and chatted her up, vice versa. So it was, it was good. It's a good event. Well attended. Jamie's presentation was very effective. Packed house. A lot of questions. As far as the letter is concerned, it's the second bulletin that we've put out this year. We want to keep our customers and all the industry stakeholders that we have up to date on what Amerex is doing to try to solve this gnarly problem of lithium-ion battery fires. So, number one, we just wanted to give everybody a follow-up update, but then also to provide an industry sort of public service that some of the products that are being marketed out there don't do the job, and frankly, they're dangerous. They don't have the range that they need. They don't have the ratings that they need, and so you're really putting the user of a product like that in harm's way. And we just felt like it was time to get that message out there very directly.
Yep. No, that's great. It's we need more of that, I feel like, and to inform the public, and especially on the fire extinguisher side, because they're available, the public is utilizing them in an emergency, right?
Yeah, and listen, the message isn't to not use fire extinguishers, it's to use them the right way. What's going to happen with these lithium battery fires is as those batteries go into thermal runaway, they're going to have projectile fires, I guess. It's almost like a pressure fire. It sprays sparks and flames out of the batteries like a projectile. And when that happens, it's going to catch everything else around these batteries on fire, right? So even though we're not fighting the actual battery fire, the extinguishers in that building need to be equipped to fight everything else around it, because that's going to be the result. The battery will eventually run out of its own power and stop spraying fire. Whatever's left, that's what we're going to use our fire extinguishers on.
Yeah, Jamie's he's absolutely correct on that. And some of the testing that we've done at our fire test facility here at Amerex, the projectiles have traveled 15 feet or more, and the range of at least one of these products that I'm referring to, the range of the extinguisher is 10 to 12 feet. So right away, the user is in harm's way. So just something everyone should know based on, we wanted everybody to benefit from the experience that we've had with our testing.
Yeah, I'm going to get I'm trying to get the hazmat director or at FDNY on. It was a really good presentation on what they've experienced, and again, they're running into it head on, and there's not a solution out there. Manufacturers can say it, but really just dumping these batteries, you got to dump in a moat of water almost, and even that they're still burning underwater, which is wild. So we tested 5 or 6 different agent products that are being marketed, and obviously also water, deionized water, and we really haven't found anything that works better than deionized water. And so we're going to continue to pursue everything that's out there, but that's kind of where we are right now. Yeah.
So developing a product that ultimately will have the ratings and will have the range that is necessary, whether the agent is deionized water or a mix of water and something else.
Yep. Now I way back, probably a few years ago now, I had William on your vehicle side, with the lithium, the gas detection unit. Is that becoming more popular with the, I guess, the electric conversion, and is there anything new to that? It's been a few years.
Yeah, it absolutely has. In fact, we have our transit marketing sales team here at Amerex today. They were here yesterday and had dinner with them last night, and had a meeting earlier this morning. And the electric vehicles are really driving the demand for gas detection, obviously fire suppression. One sort of existential threat that we had identified a few years ago for our transit bus business is that if fire suppression systems don't put out electric vehicle fire, then do they still, are buses and transit authorities still going to invest in a fire suppression system? Right. And the answer so far is yes, they are, because there's still many other fire hazards that are on the bus. But the adoption of the early warning system that you mentioned, Drew, is really rising very high. We're talking about bus manufacturers like New Flyer, Motor Coach, Gillig. Not necessarily household names to everybody, but those are the leaders in the bus manufacturing world and transit. But Jamie can speak to more about how the product works.
Yeah, as we travel to these other trade shows, each of these trade shows, the Mine Expo, the Waste Expo, all of them are embracing electric vehicles in a big way. So like the Mine Expo, they had a 240-ton haul truck that was electric, and it charges 20 minutes. Right? Just unreal. So yes, we base ours in the transit business, and the gas detection system we use is aptly described as early warning, because that's what we're doing, is we're detecting the gas at the very earliest stages, giving us the widest range of time that we can get to get that bus pulled over to the side, have the operator get all of his patrons off of that bus and egress properly to a safe place before that event happens, right? So that's a really big deal to us. And it puts us in a position where we can do quite a bit of testing, quite a bit of development with that. And as that industry develops, we're right at the tip of that spear, and right at the forefront of that development. So that gas detection system is something we're awful proud of. We keep a lot of people safe with that, for sure. It's interesting, though, when you move into the other industries outside of transit, they start caring about very different things. When we went to the Waste Expo, yes, they were caring about, hey, we have electric garbage trucks, but that wasn't the big subject. The big subject was hazardous material and how people dispose of these batteries. Because what they do is they just throw them in the garbage can, and then they end up in the back of a compactor. They compact it while they're sitting next to a building, and this thing starts in the middle of the garbage compartment on the garbage truck. And the only thing that the operator has to do, or is to be able to do, is to take that garbage and dump it on the street. There's no other options for him. There's no, or her. There's no place for them. There's no fire suppression that's big enough for that compartment. And the only thing they can do is that dump it on the street. And the result of that is a big fire in the middle of the street that then damages the street. So these garbage truck companies are getting bills from HOAs and places where they destroyed a street because of a fire, because somebody in that HOA threw away a battery that they shouldn't have thrown away. And the other part about it is just simple awareness. I think that a lot of the public still is not aware of the products that they have in their pockets, the products that they have in their closets, in their garages, and what could happen if those do go into thermal runaway. The first time I gave a presentation on this, it was up in Portland at the Oregon State Association at Orfit. And I give a video. And in the video, there's about a 15-second snippet of people with fire shooting out of their pants. Like, just shooting out of their pants. And I stopped the video afterwards, and I said, how many of you would like to stand up and remove something from your pockets right now? And 25 people stood up, right? And we're like, I'll take that out, and I'm not doing that anymore. So awareness, I think, is probably our biggest task. Let's make sure everybody knows what these are capable of, what to do, what to prevent, how to prevent thermal runaway, keeping them sheltered, using the right charging equipment, putting them in a place where they're safe to charge. I tell everybody steel and concrete is your friend, right? If you've got an electrical vehicle, charge it someplace that's steel and concrete, right? Or outside. But try not to charge all of these things right next to a bunch of flammable material. I think all of us have, portable drills in our house that we use for home improvements and repairs and stuff. And they're all lithium batteries now. How many of those do you have in your house? I've probably got 12. So educating the public about all of that, I think, is
funny enough. The CEO of Viking, the last company I worked for, Viking Minimax, James, they were doing construction. Yeah, James Gallenbo. His house, it was under construction, or something was going on anyway. But it was the cordless drills that caught fire, and luckily they got out. And I mean, he speaks about it a lot now. So kind of wild.
So the other two shows I went to that were interesting on this subject was the National Association of State Fire Marshals and then NFPA, and you were certainly at NFPA. But the perspectives from each of these shows is quite different. With Waste Expo, it's all about the garbage, right? With Mine Expo, it's all about the haul trucks and getting them to be efficient and haul more for less. But when you get into the State Fire Marshals Association, right, that is all about leadership. They are seeking guidance from anybody they can to get the most expertise with each of those fire marshals so they can filter that information down at their state level. And what I found was a real thirst for information on this subject. I found that very comforting. A lot of very high-level individuals who are seeking the right information to keep the public safe. And that is just emerging, starting in that process. But that was very interesting. And then at NFPA, to listen to the discussions about how to implement building codes around all of these hazards, right, is quite interesting because it's a really deep discussion from manufacturing to household use and everything in between with commercial and industrial, charging walls and charging stations and everything else. And how do you put those into the fire code appropriately?
Yeah.
I was at NFPA 10, which is my first cycle on NFPA 10, and there were like 63 public inputs just for lithium batteries, but not enough information to implement them.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we're right at the beginning of this still. And what we say today is not going to be true in 12 months and 24 months and 36 months. It's going to evolve.
Yeah. I mean, you have all these energy storage and even residential, like, the power wall, the Tesla power walls. And, they're obviously a good manufacturer and, but there's still things going wrong. So I don't think this is leaving. So, and if you can't put out the fire, we got to detect it somehow, whether it's hooked up to a software on, hey, what the temperature incline is, or on gas detection of the off-gassing, which supposedly smoke detectors can't even pick up some of that off-gassing, right?
Yeah, so gas detection is the earliest warning.
Yeah, it's sort of the next step in that next phase, I guess, is tying the gas detection into a communication network.
Right. Right.
And if you take a transit bus depot, you got a lot of buses, lined up, all charging. If one of them starts thermal runaway, you want to know that immediately. There's typically somebody on site so they can get there and, perhaps get the bus out of the way and prevent something, really catastrophic from happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
Not going to solve it anytime soon, sounds like. It's just some prevention stuff.
After the product has been used is often when they fail. It's not during use. It's often after use. So when those buses are sitting on the ready line, or the haul trucks on a mine are sitting in a ready line, all of those situations, it's quite dangerous. Absolutely. And they could run them hot for a few hours and then set them there. And then after that, that's when the failure happens. So.
Yep. What else here? Jamie, I had you on right after COVID, right?
Yeah.
We were doing some restaurant stuff, and then I think we had a year in review with that as well.
We did,
on the restaurant industry. Anything? I know you're kind of transition roles a little bit away from restaurant a little bit, but is there any trends in the restaurant that you've seen that has changed in the last, I guess, 2 or so years since we chatted?
Yeah, there's some changes. As I say to Ben and the other people that I work with, kitchen systems are in my DNA. I can't help it but sell them. I've been doing that so long since I literally was in the Navy in the early 90s that I'm always going to be plugged in on that kitchen side of the business. Right. And, the big topic right now is energy efficiency appliances. And they're so energy efficient that as the energy efficiency increases, so does the difficulty at fire suppression, because the appliance becomes hotter and hotter and hotter as it becomes more energy efficient. Literally, the higher the Energy Star efficiency, the harder the UL 300 fire is to put out. And in some cases, those appliances are heating up and creating fires so big, so prematurely that you can't reach the 2-minute pre-burn that's prescribed by UL. So we're really facing some challenges about how to tackle these newer, really highly efficient appliances and get the appropriate fire suppression for them and get the test done the right way. It's challenging the testing criteria. So that is certainly one of the areas where we're seeing some I would say challenges, but the industry's evolved and we're meeting that, right?
Sure.
The other part of the industry that has been evolving quite a bit is electric detection. 10 years ago, there was virtually no electric detection in kitchen, and now there's quite a bit of it. We've got our Strike product that's been on the market for almost 10 years now, and it's got a nice slow growth rate, but it's taking hold a little bit at a time. Captive Air's got electric detection. Kidda uses electric detection in places like In-N-Out Burger. So it's more and more prevalent, But the barrier to entry is cost. And
Yeah.
in the food space, cost matters, right?
Yep.
So right now, what we have is maybe 10, 15% of the market that is really excited about electric detection and the communication and data collection that can come with that. And then we've got the other 85% that say that's too expensive.
Right.
But what we know is that electric detection is the future in that space. It gives you
Yeah.
capabilities that mechanical won't give you. It talks to building control systems where mechanical systems don't really have that capability. You
Yep.
can use different styles of detectors, which give you better response times and more data collection. So that's the future. And we're lucky enough that Amerex has got some patience in that space and allowing us
Yep.
to build for the future, right? So
Yep.
that when the future gets here, we've got a hold of it, right? Very forward thinking in that regard. So that's coming right along.
Yeah. I mean,
So
yeah, the links go away, right? Because the
yeah,
links, you have to replace them every 6 months. Well, that would go away.
yeah.
You still have to do
And
obviously the inspection, but
by the way, if we look at that Grinnell badge of 1850, I'm pretty sure he's the one that invented the fusible link
yeah,
in 1850. So I
yeah,
think we've passed that technology. I think we could probably find something a little more advanced than that.
right.
Don't get me wrong, it is super reliable, right? And that's why everybody uses it. It's super inexpensive. That's why everybody uses it. But what it's not is fast, and it's not electronic so that you can record data, right?
Right.
And send signals in different ways. And
Yeah.
it's only
Well,
one
Jamie's
way.
absolutely right. And
Yeah.
even though he's moved full time into the industry relations role for Amerex, we're keeping him very close to that business. I would just add in terms of restaurant, food service, hospitality trends, or things that are important to operators. Safety is always number one, whether it's food safety, safety of the employees, safety of the customers that come into the establishment. Obviously, takeaway food continues to grow. So more automation, flexibility in kitchen design, the ability to move appliances around but still have fire protection that you don't have to redo every time that you do that. So, we're seeing all of that. Food safety, everybody sort of takes for granted until, something pops up like's happened with the E. coli outbreak, unfortunately, with a major fast food chain just this week. So, you hope that kind of thing doesn't happen, but, they have to stay vigilant on top of that all the time. So
Right.
Safety, flexibility, and design. The other thing that we're seeing is restaurant chains and hotel chains that are United States based continue to expand. Most of their growth is international, Europe, Middle East, Asia. And so if you're a supplier to those companies, staying abreast of regulations and things that are required in all those different countries.
Yep.
So that's something that we and, everybody who's competing in that space have to pay a lot of attention to.
Yeah, interesting that.
Labor would be the other thing. I mean, that's kind of the obvious one. Everybody's struggling for labor, which makes automation and the efficiency Jamie mentioned even more important, particularly when you look at large hotel companies and multi-unit restaurant operators.
Yeah. Pushing the UL 300 standard around the world is also very helpful. When countries adopt the UL 300 standard, immediately their food service facilities become a lot safer. It's certainly easier for U.S. companies to compete. We've got a much higher level of fire suppression and standards here than a lot of other countries. So when we go to sell in those countries where UL 300 is not required, it's a very uneven playing field. You've got some systems that have capabilities clear down here and capabilities clear up here. So we really try to push that UL 300 standard as many places as we can around the world. So
No, that's that.
It's still huge. Where they set fires every day. So it's sort of one of the more libelous and dangerous places for sure.
Hey, wasn't it back into when the NFPA, whenever restaurant suppression, it was in the 70s, right? It came out, or restaurant suppression?
It was
1970s.
It was subject UL 300 in the 70s, and then the new UL 300 standard came in 94. And along with it came NFPA 17A and improvements in NFPA 96.
Yeah, but that was like one of the biggest. I think in fire protection, most fires were happening and probably still happen in the kitchen setting. So, like from the 70s and 90s,
a big
yeah,
change. Huge change.
yeah, huge change, right?
Right. In fact, the systems in the 80s wouldn't pass the UL 300 test in the early 90s, and the ones that did pass had to use 5 times as much agent to pass that test as the previous systems. So we literally got 5 times as much fire protection in 94 in the kitchen space than we had previously.
Yeah, yeah. Ben, back to your point on efficiency. This is kind of pivoting a little bit, but and labor and all that. I got to give you guys some credit. I don't have a newer extinguisher with me, but I do want
Shameless product plug. I like it.
Shameless product plug. We're gonna get into a little product plug, but this is an old one from 2007, and I'll get into this in a second. I did want to bring it up because I'm in my office here today, and they have Amerex extinguishers. So I was like, all right, let me go up, and I'm gonna. Do any of these have a QR code? So you guys have a QR code. Came out with it 2+ years ago. At Inspect Point, we just jumped right on that because there's so much data, in a tiny QR code. It makes the efficiency of those service technicians and the fire extinguisher inspectors so much easier, but it also empowers them with a lot of data. And I'll give you a real world experience of this. So this Amerex has the old barcodes, right? With the new QR code, you guys actually embed the date of the cylinder on there, which is super critical when it comes to that 12-year hydro, right? Well, this is 2007. It obviously hasn't had a hydro in 2019, so it's 5 years past the hydro date. But how would you know that, right? And obviously you need data records, and I really think that QR code helps out tremendously with the annual, first of all, the 6-year and then the 12-year hydro, right? So you actually, through that, you can see essentially every extinguisher that you service and know when you have a hydro, where most people are doing swap outs now.
Yeah.
Right. So
the alternative, Drew, is on the bottom of that cylinder, there is a stamp with the date on it, which is great for a technician to check and see the 07 on there, right? But what you can't do with that information is everything you just said. You can't plan around it.
Yeah.
Right. So if you scan that QR code, it goes into the Inspect Point program, right? Then at that point, they can go look at that particular account and they can say, next year when my technician goes, I've got 27 6-years, right? I've got 37 12-year hydro tests, and the rest are annuals. So I can pre-prepare those hydro tests, beforehand. We can tell that customer, you've got this many hydro tests. We can bring you hydro tested units, or we can sell you new ones at that point if you want to do that, right? But you can plan that account before you get to it, which is so critical in today's world. And customers expect that now, right? They expect the service providers to know this information and be able to help them budget. So it's a big advancement in our industry, going from paper, writing down your hydro dates, to collecting it that way and being able to route your, if you're a company that's got 25 technicians going in 25 different directions with God knows how many accounts, that is a chore. And the more data you have, the more efficient you can be, and the better you can take care of your customers.
Yeah, one of your shout out to Albany Fire Extinguisher in upstate New York, which is pretty close to our office, but very high end Amerex distributor as well. They've actually utilized obviously your technology with the QR, but even given us feedback of, all right, before the truck even leaves for the day, they know exactly what's happening for that day with 6 and 12 year, and obviously the 5 years for the water and the CO2. But that data is super powerful, and I got to applaud you guys for a QR code. It's kind of changed some of our thinking on the fire extinguisher side of the software. So,
well, it's something that we're going to be emphasizing more and more going forward, because I personally feel like it's underutilized right now. by our distributor tech base. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
I'm lucky to work for a company that whenever there's an opportunity to lead, they look at that very heavily and jump on it most of the time. So I really do appreciate that about my employer.
So last question before we get out of here. I saw this obviously extinguisher at the, walking through the office today. What is the most famous place you've ever, I see a lot of movies with the Amerex, diamond, everything. Is there anything specific to you guys personally? And Ben, I'll let you go first, and then Jamie, you can jump in. Where you've seen Amerex, whether it's in a movie, in person, whatever.
Well, as you may know, we recently had a contest, and we had customers, individuals, the general public submit photos, and then we picked some winners from that. So I guess I'll tell you a personal story, then I'll tell you about one of the ones that we highlighted from our contest.
Okay.
My daughter, when she was a junior in high school, I guess, we were going around on college tours, and we were in Los Angeles touring a number of different schools, and we went to the University of Southern California, USC. Yep. And as we were walking around, I'd never been on the campus before. I'd always wanted to go there. Had family that went there. Varsity Letterman basketball, track family members. And so I always wanted to go there. And we were there on campus in the Athletic Hall of Fame building, which is like a museum. And there are all these photos or all these trophies. They even had O.J. Simpson's Heisman Trophy in there.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if he had to, sell it back to them for money or whatever, but that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I looked over to the side, and there was an Amerex fire extinguisher with the diamond shining proudly. And I said, this is one of the coolest places I've ever been, and then to see our product in here was doubly cool.
That's a great story.
That was that's probably one of the most memorable for me. One of the photos that was submitted in our recent contest was from the Muscle Shoals Recording Studio, which is in North Alabama. It's about halfway between Birmingham, where I live, and Nashville. And Muscle Shoals, was really, really popular back in the late 60s and early 70s. And you just would not believe, unless you've seen the documentary or just a music buff and know this, that Wilson Pickett, Aretha Franklin, Elton John, Dwayne Allman was a session musician there for a bit. Wow. And then probably most famously, at least in my opinion, the Rolling Stones, several cuts off the Sticky Fingers album here recorded there. I'm talking about tunes like Brown Sugar, which I don't think was on that album. Maybe it was. But Brown Sugar and Wild Horses were both recorded at the Muscle Shoals Recording Studio. And so Amerex Fire Extinguishers is still in existence. It's still, it's kind of a place where you can go. It's not a big place. And there are actually a couple of studios up there. They were competing, back in the day. But you can visit both of them. And Amerex Fire Extinguishers still protecting the sound.
Great.
So we're pretty proud of that.
That's great. That's a good one.
Not ears, huh? So, that Muscle
Jamie,
Shoals
what about you?
Is very cool. The Muscle Shoals studio is very cool.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of them. I'll start with kitchen systems because that's my DNA. We've got 20 systems in Burj Khalifa in Dubai, the tallest building in the world. So we protect 20 of the tallest kitchens you can find.
Wow.
And I think that's a really cool little landmark for us to be protecting.
Interesting.
I like that. And then in the contest, my favorite picture in the contest is a pile of Amerex extinguishers that are being maintained, and the picture's being taken from the back of a fire van. And right in front of all of these extinguishers that are sitting there ready to be recharged is a herd of mountain goats. They're like checking out the fire extinguishers. And he took that picture in Glacier National Park, which is dear to my wife's family's from West Glacier, and it's about a 3 or 4 hour drive from me here. So to see that was really cool. But as you've stated, we've got extinguishers all over the world and in some of the very cool places. And our distributors do a very nice job of sending us pictures when they find them in pretty cool places. So we do keep a collection of those, and then every so often put them out on our Inside the Diamond magazine. So.
Oh, that's great. That's you gotta have fun with it. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
You gotta have.
absolutely.
So, you know, these technicians are out there all over the world and in weird spots, and you know, not the best conditions sometimes. So it's you gotta have fun with it.
And, you know, Amerex makes a good product. We produce, you know, gosh, you know, we're trying to make 15,000 extinguishers a day.
Wow.
Here. But it's really our customers, our distributor partners that are responsible for getting our products into those places.
Yeah.
So hats off to them for what they do every day.
Yeah. Great.
So, and all over the world too, in places that are inhospitable and not fun to do work, all the way up to these really cool places, right? So,
right.
But they're out there fighting the good fight every day.
Great. Well, I'm glad you guys came on today. Again, we had a few topics, and it was great. It was good to catch up, and I guess where everybody knows where we can find you. But if you want to give a quick plug, I know it's Amerex-Fire.
Yeah, Amerex-Fire.com is our website. I'm on all the socials as Jamie Chuck Fire. I'm not hard to find. So I'm happy to engage with people as well. So and answer any questions they may have, or talk about thought leadership or industry relations, anything like that. Happy to do that with them. So
Cool.
Just use the QR code.
Yeah, right. Hit it. It's right in there. I know.
Yeah.
I know that for a
Hey,
fact.
Drew, great being with you. Thanks a lot. Good luck to you and your team and your family.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah. Have a great holiday season, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you guys pretty soon here.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
Okay.
Enjoy what you do, Drew. Thank
Cheers.
you.
Yeah, thank you. This has been episode 74 of the Fire Protection Podcast, powered by Inspect Point. I want to thank Jamie and Ben for coming on from Amerex to talk about a variety of issues, you know, mainly the lithium-ion battery fires, which keep coming up. I do want to deeper dive that into 2025. But again, thanks for all the listenership and subscriptions, and here's to a great 2025. Thanks again.